It is such a pleasure to have a chance to speak with you, especially because of what we're going to be talking about, which is an amazing documentary that you put together, which is about time something like this was done. Before we even begin, how have you been doing? I mean, COVID, snowstorms, the things that we're seeing on social media. It has been a crazy couple of years. How are you doing?
Thank you for asking. My entire family just got COVID. Um,
Oh,
just at the start of the new year, our daughter went to visit a friend, and that friend gave her COVID. This is our oldest, and she came home and she was a little bit sick, and then our youngest daughter got sick, and then my husband got sick at like December 10th, and I got sick. Sorry, January 10th, and then January 11th I got sick. So I'm just coming out. The whole family, the entire family, all five of us. So we're just coming out of that. But you know, I think I'm acutely aware of how small our world have become, in the last a couple of years. And what that really means is that, not seeing people, having to cloister amongst, within that small unit, I think it's wearing on us all, but I am very grateful to have made this film at this time, because what it also
yes.
means is that people are needing to find material and content, and needing to find, things to keep them encouraged and to keep them connected. So I'm it's like everything else. It's bittersweet, right? So this is a bittersweet time, and I'm really trying my best though to be positive and just like hope for our future. Really.
Bittersweet time. I think that's the perfect scenario to say because I don't think what this documentary is about and what you've put together could have been done 20, 30 years ago. So let's get right to it immediately. What is this documentary that you put together? And there's a reason why I am wearing this shirt today because to me, this represents what your film is about.
Absolutely. So here's the thing, I say this all the time. I have been in the skin of a black woman my whole life, from a black girl to a black woman. And what that's meant is that in the world, there have been narratives that has surrounded and almost every engagement I've had in this world has been somehow filtered through this. The problem is that we as Black women and girls, we don't understand how deep and how ingrained these are. But the thing, what we do know is that they have actually been set up to rob us of power. That we have Black women and girls are not traditionally considered beautiful in the standard, what is a standard of beauty. And so what I've understood in making this film is that beauty is power. And if Black women and girls are outside of that narrative in the dominant culture, then there are massive ramifications. That's not just about, am I pretty, am I not pretty? We're talking about the impact on jobs. We're talking about the impact on, outcomes of like marriage, of friendships, these kinds of things. And all of this, when you look at it, you can trace it back to these dangerous narratives that really control how we're seen and perceived.
One of the things, which is why I loved what you put together, and I had to make sure I wanted to write this down because I didn't want to forget. I will never forget when I was growing up seeing the movie 10 with Bo Derek with the braids and, what she had in her hair. And I remember the media going crazy about, oh, and I'm, even at that age, I'm sitting there going, the hell are they talking about? Black women always had this all the time. And I remember, I think it was Ebony that did the interview, and he did it with Linda Green, the second Peaches and Herb, who had that hairstyle before the movie. And them interviewing her basically about that. And, I love the title. They called her the original 10. And I never forgot that, which was why when I think about this documentary and what you just said, power being taken away, that to me is a perfect example of that.
Absolutely. And in the documentary, as you hear, this is the thing. A law that actually allowed society to discriminate against Black women and their hair was one of the things they cited was the movie 10. And what they cited was, look at Bo Derek. She has braids in her hair in a movie. And then she took out the braids, which means hair is mutable. Why does this Black woman want to be like Bo Derek? So, not that Black women have been putting braids in their hair for centuries, okay? No, Bo Derek created braids, and a Black woman is trying to be Bo Derek. I mean, this is insane, and yet this was a legal precedent, and this was the part of the reasoning behind his judgment. And I want to also say that when I was 15 years old, I got braids in my hair for the first time. And I went to work with braids. And I was so excited because I was like, oh, I could flip. Oh, I got braids, braids. I was so excited. I was so happy. And I went to work, and it was at Shoppers Drug Mart. And my boss told me my hair was rude and that I would have to remove them, or I had to go home and remove them. And so essentially, I wouldn't have had a job if I kept the braids in. And I remember going home and crying my eyes out, and then taking out my braids because, my mom was, single mom, 3 kids. She was a registered nurse assistant, but she was doing 2 jobs, and she couldn't afford to be paying for all my little things and whatnot, right? And at the time, it didn't occur to me to just quit. But so that these are our experiences, right? And I wanted the film to show that these interactions we're having, they're not benign. That this is actually structural, and it's about taking power from us.
Let's talk about the journey. What does this documentary go through from the times, the ages, and the people that they speak with too, and the images that we also see on video and on television and movies?
Well, this so what the film does, it starts with the Miss Black America pageant, which started in 1968. And it was really important to start there because that was a political event. That was when the Black community and J. Morris Anderson and the NAACP actually said, um, fighting for Black women and their beauty being acknowledged and accepted in a world where Black women were not allowed on national beauty stages. They were saying that this is political, and this pageant is not just beauty, it's political. So that was really important, and that's the spine for the film. But I also wanted to have a comprehensive look at the dangerous narratives, what I call dangerous narratives. And that required me to go back to colonialism and slavery, because a lot of the stereotypes around Black women that govern our behavior, that govern how Black men see us, how the world sees us, a lot of that came out of slavery, and it was mostly created to control us. So the Mammy and the Jezebel are actually about control. So and for Black women, incidentally, to be in service of. These are 2 stereotypes that were created to entrench the service nature of Black women. So, A, you're a mammy. You have actually no care for your own family, but you care for the white family. You are there as a workhorse to take care of, whether it be a white family or even, like I said, even with our men, right? That's it, and that's the expectation. The Jezebel, you're in service of, again, this man. And remember, the Jezebel stereotype is about the fact that Black women were so sexually deviant that if you did rape them, it's not really rape. It's because of their deviance. That's who they are. And so that narrative, look around today. Look around at the fact that we have Billie Eilish, we have Adele, we have, a plethora of really successful white performers who are not having to spread their legs to be successful. And then you look at the Black women who are successful in that same space, and almost all of them are very sexualized. And again, not to say that we can't own our bodies, but why in the same industry, all the Black women must and have been had to make themselves the most extreme version of sexuality to hit, whereas Billie Eilish can dye her hair black and green, wear men's clothing, and be one of the top singers in the world, right? So that is about Black women being in service of, right, in service of and then with the Sapphire, that stereotype is about controlling Black women, stopping them in their tracks. Because if they're strong, if they're powerful, if they actually have anything to contribute, you can shut them up by saying, "You're angry. No man wants you. You are the problem." And so what happens? You pull back because you have no femininity. You have nothing. You know what I'm saying? So that's control.
And let's go to the third part of this, the quote unquote angry Black woman.
Yes, I love that stereotype. So I do find that it can be with any Black woman, light or dark, but it's especially hunkered down on darker complected Black women. And it is essentially that if you have a mind of your own, if you are in a meeting and you say, like Julie Black, you're saying your thing, and someone interrupts you or someone doesn't agree with you.
And I know exactly what you're talking about, and I hope people look up on this. It's on YouTube if they want to see it. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right? Someone can just say, "What? Why are you attacking me? You haven't said anything about them. You haven't called their names, but you're attacking them." And here's the thing: if it wasn't Julie Black, who was strong and powerful and beautiful in her own right, what would have happened in a public television show like that is the Black woman would have pulled back and say, "I'm sorry," and would have quieted herself. "Oh no, I didn't mean to do that. I'm sorry." Or no, go ahead. That's what that kind of thing is designed to do. It's to shut us down. It's to stop us. And Ryan, in the film, one of the Miss Black America pageant, she also said you're not allowed to have an opinion. You're not allowed to speak something that's alternative to what the other person is saying. And tears have been weaponized against us, right? We've seen it historically. If let me tell you, if there's a white lady and a Black woman having some kind of discussion, like 9 times, if not 10 times out of 10, historically, it would be like, what is this Black woman doing to this poor, sweet white woman? Yes. If it's a Black woman and a white male, she's angry, she's uncontrollable. Oh my God, what are we doing? If it's a Black man and a Black woman, it's like, this is why I don't date Black women, because they're angry, they're mean, they're nasty. So it's like that stereotype has been weaponized and we've embraced it. And then they turned around and said, "Oh yeah, it's really about you being a strong Black woman."
But something else that you pointed out, and for folks who haven't seen the film yet, there's a part in the trailer that says it too, where there's a discussion with young girls, young women, who talk about being compared to animals.
Mm-hmm.
Can you talk a little bit about that? Because I think that is very important. That's a very important discussion because of everything you just said about being taken away to a point where now you're not even human.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, I don't know a Black girl that was raised in these North American shores that wasn't compared to an animal in some way growing up. I know I certainly was. Oh, you're like a little monkey, you're so quick, just moving around so fast like a little monkey. I guess in some cases it's you're a lion. I mean, there's this tendency to, even as you get older, to sexualize that. So, like, I'm sure we've read articles, and I don't talk about it in the film, but how about Black women when they try to date, there's this fetishization, this animalistic kind of narrative that people want you to enact. You know what I mean? So, I loved Eartha Kitt and so forth, but what was she doing? And all this kind of stuff. Because the dominant society, you know, that's what they wanted to see from us. You know what I mean? And so, and it starts from a very young age where you're there's a word for it, but you're given animal like characteristics. And it's because it happens to all of us, it can't just be a one off. I mean, I don't know. I've never called a little white girl what? I don't know, a tiger. I don't know. I mean, what would you even do? Like, it's just it's not something that I hear. Right? You don't hear that when you're talking about young white girls, but you are always at some point you're going to be compared to an animal, or poo, as my little daughter, in addition to that, oh, your skin's like poo, and then and what she said at 5 was, well, that's too bad because that's how God made me, right? And but I mean, to have to go through this, it's awful.
It is, one of the reasons why, two of my favorite movies has always been Mahogany, because of, again, talking about Diana Ross and showing the strength that she had and the beauty and the poise. And even when she got angry showing strength, not
Mm-hmm.
weakness. The other
Mm-hmm.
movie I've always enjoyed was Eddie Murphy's Boomerang, because
Yeah.
the women in it, strength,
Mm-hmm.
didn't
Mm-hmm.
put up with anything, beautiful, like just
Mm-hmm.
and career minded and those kind of things. Why don't we? Are we seeing more of these things now for a better representation? Because it's funny when I talk to Caucasian people here in Canada, they don't understand that you go to somewhere, Chicago, Atlanta, wherever else in the States, you see those type of people all the time. And you are seeing it here in Canada, Toronto, but I guess maybe they just don't see it because they have their own image of what they see, almost like tunnel vision.
It is. Look, I think Canada has not done a great job of incorporating or including the Black story. That's
That's
Canada
what I'm
is
trying to
not,
say. Yeah.
so that is it, right? That's plain and simple. And the unfortunate thing is that Canada, though, has the reputation of being, you know, um, this. Are you there? Sorry.
I'm still here.
Canada has the reputation of being this a place that is for the immigrant population. It's maple syrup and candy and black folks, and there's no racism here. That is not true. We have anybody black here, anybody who's black who comes here, they know the truth. They figure it out very quickly. So what we have to, and I think places like the CBC and our broadcasters historically have done a terrible job of bringing the diversity of voices into this country. And because, the truth of the matter is, most of what we understand about people these days is through media, right? So I think that as a creator, as I'm a writer, a producer, and a director, I have always fought to tell Black stories and diverse stories, not just the one Black person, but diversity of stories. I've always fought for that. And the thing is that we have to bring these stories forward, because that tunnel vision you're talking about, it will never change until they're exposed to a much broader range of the stories. Things are getting better in the US. I can see that. And it's starting to happen here. It's been a long time in coming, and we have a far to go on it. But the thing is this, you know, our stories, when they were being told by other communities.
Yeah.
They got it wrong, and it wasn't significant. And so what we now have to do is to fight up here to get that kind of profile that we're seeing down south. But even then, I have to say, one of my problems that I've noticed is that there's casting that's happening more, but a lot of it is like without like a fair skin protagonist.
Can we talk about that, because that was actually going to be my next question about that and the problems there, because anybody who knows the stories about the paper bag is, you know, if you're lighter than the paper bag you're supposed to be better, and if you're darker than that that's not the case. But I mean, come on, there are women who are very dark and just stunning, beautiful skin, beautiful, just everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a hard one. It's a painful one. I mean, I'm a dark skinned black woman, and I actually love the skin I'm in. I do, and
You and I are the same complexion basically. Yeah,
no,
I feel
I
the same
love
way
the
about
skin.
myself.
Yeah, I love the skin I'm in. It hurts me though that for some reason, like um not just the white community, but within our own black community,
Yes.
we don't love and profile this. So what's happened since George Floyd was murdered and the world began to recognize this racial reckoning of what is happening for
We'll
black
get to
folks.
that in a second because I got a
Yeah,
question there. Okay.
yeah. But since that time, you have broadcasters saying, yeah, we're going to now like do this better. We're going to be better at this. And then they turn around and they're casting very fair skinned black women. And they're also, but darker complected black men. So you're seeing more black men for sure. Like almost in every show now, there's a black man and he's like the second lead, rarely the first lead, but sometimes the first lead, but he's definitely the second lead and he has agency and all that kind of stuff. And there's almost never a black woman. And if you see a black woman, it's a black show about the black woman,
Yes.
or it's a light skinned black woman. This is still problematic. So, that's why my film, I think, is probably has a really good conversation about this, has a good conversation about this so that we can, like recognize that it is still a problem to do like so to go from casting no black people to only light skinned black people is a problem. um so I don't shy away from saying these things. I think my film introduces this topic. Black people, we know in our community, we know what we're doing. And I also have to say, black men, step up, because you're the ones that are telling white folks what you think is beautiful. And let you look hip hop videos for the last decade to 15 years, because it wasn't always like that. Those early days was around the way girls,
Mm-hmm.
it was that mixed bag. You look at these music videos more recently, and it's like one dark skinned sister, several light skinned sisters, some white sisters, and maybe some other exotic types. And 9 times out of 10, if the black man or man is going to be romancing someone, it's going to be a fair skin or a white sister. So this is problematic, and this is coming from our community. We cannot just blame the dominant culture about this.
You know, not going off topic, but you brought something up, and it was been sitting in the back of my head because I've done past interviews and I've talked about this because it drives me crazy. What do you think of that word woke?
Oh gosh, yeah. Well, it is definitely overused,
Thank you.
and um, and it look, I mean, I understand the sentiment, right? I think that the people who claim to be woke, quote unquote, 9 times out of 10, they're so problematic in the way that they move in the world, and that's the real. It's like, look, our community needs investment. Our community needs support. Our community needs allies. A number of the people, like I mean, I, I hate to call names because it's just because it's just so widespread, but some of these people call claiming wokeness, they don't invest in the community. They're not creating space and putting their dollars into communities to build community centers and to build spaces for young Black people to be. I mean, there are people with money in our community. Some, that's not happening, and they're woke. They are not engaged in the community other than they come out for some one or two talks. They don't invest in Black families. They and then when they actually have a platform, they actually often present Black women in particular in a very negative way. They actually present because I do think that it's problematic. They present a narrative of the Black man striving of the prison industrial complex and the challenges of that. But then when they're portraying the Black women, they're either in service of, or they are crazy, or they are, I mean, in Danny, what is it, uh, gosh, Danny Glover, in his show, I'll never forgive this man for the scene where they're at a party and, like, this gathering, and this white lady's there with this Black man, and this Black woman has an engagement with her, and and she's like, why don't you like me, or whatever, and it's like, oh, you're taking her man, or our Black man, and she, I supported him, I love him, I love him. I'm like, this is what you choose to tell. This is the story you choose to tell in trying to Atlanta. This is what you choose to tell in this context? Really? Do you really think that white women need to have a voice around this stuff in the context of how Black women have historically been treated, the way that they have kept the communities together, have been the glue when Black men couldn't get work because the system kept them, wouldn't hire them, and Black women had to work 2, 3 jobs and keep things going, not, by the way, because they wanted to, right? And in this context of this, that's what you want to show. It hurts me. It hurts my heart.
It does to me also. As we're wrapping this up, what message do you hope people get from seeing this film, black or white, or whatever nationality?
Yeah. So here's the thing. I am a big fan of communication and allyship, and I also think that people, what they don't know, they can't change. So the message I want people when they watch first of all, I want them to just watch the film, and I want them to really think about how they have perceived Black women, and understand that a lot of that perception, by the way, has been something that's been filtered down. When Dr. Cheryl Thompson talks about um, being asked to take a photograph for the TED Talk, and then being asked to fold her arm and look serious, and then that being that very unattractive, unappealing photograph is what they use, and they use nobody else looks like that. Nobody else has been asked to fold their arms, or certainly wasn't used, and they choose that. I want people to understand that these things are not benign, and that they are complicit, and it's time for them to find companionship, relationships, conversations with Black women and girls, and to, like, open up the dialogue. We have to open up the dialogue, and that's really what I want people to take from this film: understanding that there's stuff behind how they're seeing Black women, and then open up and walking across the aisle. And because, look, I feel like as Black folks, we can accomplish anything in the world, but we do need allyship. We need people in there with us. So, yeah, I want people to be a part of the solution moving forwards.
Congratulations, and thank you so much for putting together such an incredible documentary. Thanks so much for this interview.
Thank you so much.